righty, so get started. Oh. Where's what? Over there?
He's hot.
Okay. Giddy from.
He's hot.
Okay, Slade.
Ready? You want me to
Yes,
start?
sir, go right
Okay.
ahead.
I have some literature for y'all here too. So I'll just pass this out while I talk. So something that I do since we started in Lauderdale County is we have a PR fund in our budget every year. What I like to do is I like to look and find things that maybe the county needs and gear our PR towards that. So the first 2 years, we wanted to really focus on CPR, stop the bleed, your stroke, heart attack awareness, things like that. This past year, I sat down with our field training officer that we have over PR. We really took a hard look at kind of where we're headed with that and the direction. And we decided to shift gears this year to teen mental health. So we've partnered with the Kyle Jones Foundation moving forward. Lauderdale County has actually seen a major uptick in pediatric suicides in the teen population. In Rogersville alone, they've had 6 in the past 2 years. In the entire county, and when I say 6, that's successful. And I say that because there are many teens that attempt suicide that we'll never know about. In Lauderdale County in the past 2 years, we've had 10 across the entire county. Like I said, no telling how many more. The last national statistics the CDC released was for every 100,000, 6 teens commit suicide. So with those numbers that we're seeing in our data that was coming back, we're almost double the national average. So the Kyle Jones Foundation, if you don't know who they are, Kyle Jones was actually one of those teenagers that committed suicide in Lauderdale County. He lived out in Rogersville, and his mom made this nonprofit, and their sole mission is to go out to teenagers and their families in Lauderdale County to provide them with awareness, education, and local resources. Because unfortunately, in some of the cases, we found that nothing was done because they didn't know where to go. So we have been meeting for the past 3 months with the Kyle Jones Foundation and just met with the social workers with the Board of Education. And we have put a plan together and would like to see if the county commission would help us financially understand there may be a grant for teen mental health. Our plan is to put a resource table at every school in Lauderdale County. So one thing that we found with just the preliminary stuff that we've done is that teens really love some of the little knick-knack stuff that we put on the table. Things like little buttons, bracelets, stuff like that that has mental health resources on them. That way someone can just stop by in the hallway and pick it up, and they don't have to go and feel like everyone's looking at them going to someone else to talk. So we're looking at doing that, as well as rolling out biannual events within Lauderdale County for teenagers. We are already in Rogersville doing every first Thursday. A local business has opened up their doors for teens. It's just a place that they can get out and not get into trouble and go. And the Kyle Jones Foundation, they go and they sit there and they'll just talk to anybody and everybody that'll listen from the people that go to Lauderdale County. So we're working with them on that, as well as we're talking with the social workers about a program that teachers and admin staff could refer students to. It's very similar to some programs that have been done in similar counties around us, and it's not branded mental health awareness club. It's branded something else to where it's completely anonymous, and it's something where they can get the help and resources they need without everyone knowing about it. They've done a big event out in Rogersville, and it was really humbling, some of the comments that were anonymously put in. We actually had a student stand up in front of the entire 9 through 12 and ask if it was okay if she thought about suicide but she hadn't done it. So, unfortunately, we're in crisis, and it's not one that you can see. It's one that you see and it's too late. So I wanted to come to y'all and present some of this data. You'll see a little map on the papers that you have. So that is statistical data directly pulled from us in 2024. All of those blue dots are suicides in Lauderdale County that happened in 1 year, which is over, there's actually over 100 that year. So I wanted to come and talk to you all about that to see if we could get your help with that. We found that we can get into every single school around 750 to 1,000 for everything for 1 year. And we're also talking about the potential with social workers about maybe partnering and speaking with UNA to help them with some of their relief and maybe use some of the master's program social workers that go to UNA in Lauderdale County, and potentially maybe the Kyle Jones Foundation use that as a potential incentive for them of some payment for those hours. Because right now, a lot of the social workers in the master's program in UNA don't have a lot of incentive to stay in Lauderdale County. They will go and do their clinical hours somewhere else. And so if we can partner with the Kyle Jones Foundation and offer some sort of incentive for them to stay locally, it's going to take the load off of the 3 social workers that we have that cover this county. So currently we have 3. One in the north, one in the west, one in the east, and right now they are overloaded. They just can't take anymore. And so that's what we're trying to pitch in and help with. So, but other than that, we just graduated a bunch of advanced in medics and critical care. Half of them have all achieved their license already. The other half are getting ready to test here in the next couple weeks. This will be the last medic class that we have. We don't start putting double medic trucks on the road. As well as this critical care graduate. This will be the last critical care group that we don't start having multiple critical cares 24 hours a day across the county. And with this past IBSC testing group, we are the first to actually have a disease infection control officer on staff who specializes in OSHA compliance and preventative illness. So we're really excited to have her on board as well. So, but I appreciate y'all's time. If any of you are interested, I also added on there the foundation's business card with the statistics as well as mine. We're always looking for any help that we can get, but I do appreciate it.
You say there's some grants that we could apply for?
Yeah, do you remember some of those?
No, we had one a few years ago that we got from the school system, 15,000 or so, did some training and stuff. So that's still, we went to ACCA that they had stuff like that. We can reach out. For sure.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we were twice above
Yeah.
national level.
Yeah, so, and just pediatrics in general, for those of you that don't know, the latest statistics, we answer 60% of all 911s in the country. Lauderdale County specifically has an abnormal amount of any pediatric emergency across the board. And so what we are doing as an operation is this year we are flooding our clinicians with pediatric training because we have a major abnormal amount of pediatric cases.
Mr. Chairman, opioid money, is that something that can be applied to something like this?
Possibly, we need to look at where we are on that. Certainly something. Let's do it.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. So we'll go to the sheriff.
First of all, it's just gonna remind y'all, I have reinstituted the trash pickup, inmate trash pickup, so anything in your district, you see any places that need trash pickup, let me know, text me or shoot me an email or something, so we are.
But you told me, Joe, you're not talking about up and down the road, you're talking about like parks and
No, I'm talking
those
about
intersections.
Up and down the road.
Oh, so you are talking about.
Yeah, county road, now, the highways, I'm a little
Right.
reserved about getting on the highways just because of the safety concern, but we hit Highway 20 and County Road 5 is probably was the trashiest place in the county.
Yeah.
Got it good and picked up. We've hit 2 or 3 other locations, but that is available again, so in your areas, especially if there's 4-way stops and when you turn off the highways on the county roads, it gathers a lot of trash and stuff. So y'all let me know, and then Mr. Tom knows as well, that let us know if y'all see areas or something like that. So, and also the locks, the jail update, the locks have been installed down there, fully functional, up and running. The Guardian system is up and running down there at the jail. So all that is looking really good right now. Staying on the jail, I think we've talked to a couple of y'all about the need to update the generator down there. Mr. Holmes has some numbers that I think he's going to give you, but that the way we're set up right now, that generator is not giving us the capacity to operate the jail with the powers out. So we really do need to consider that.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see if there's anything. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll notice on the agenda tonight, there's a subdivision, Nature's Valley. I keep getting that mixed up with the Bridge. No, I think it's the Bridge, Nature's Cove. I knew that one right. Nature's Valley, it's the whole week. This subdivision, actually, we reviewed very thoroughly last year. It was under a different title, I can't remember the name of it. This is at the end of County Road 367, almost at the end of County Road 367, which is the road that cuts beside Tracker Boats there. It's about a 15-acre tract. It's right on the river. It's on a little point. Has a cove that comes in. So this has kind of got water all over it. It's 16 lots. Last year when we reviewed it, it was about 14 lots. These are prime river lots. Beautiful, beautiful. They've actually cleared the wooded side of this property. There used to be one house on this, and they demolished the house. There's one pier existing. They left it. They went in and removed the trees on one side, and y'all, if you just somebody blindfolded you just walked out there, you'd think you were in Oregon or something. It is straight up and down. It's pretty amazing. I wish I could have saw them log that. That would have been interesting to watch. So, but the site looks great. They did ask for 2 waivers, 20-mile-an-hour design speed, which is great. You would not want much speed on this old road on top of this big hill by the river. And also, this is really at my request. They do not have a 90-degree intersection the way their road comes in. They tried to do that on their original design, and I really didn't like it. It just didn't. Well, actually, the reason I didn't like it is because they were going to have to fill out over that huge hill. And so we were going to end up with this county road that was going to basically be manufactured on top of on the side of this bluff, and it would have been a problem in the long term. The other thing, if you're familiar with that road, you go down and it just dead ends. There's like 6 houses beyond this road, and so I don't see any reason for people that are going to build out there to be turning left. They're all going to be going out to the highway, and so I kind of requested, nudged them a little bit to merge that road in where it doesn't hit 90 degrees. It kind of comes in so that they're already heading back, and the way they're coming in, it'll be a straighter shot from getting back to the highway, and it keeps the road away from that really, really steep stuff. And so they did that. It was good for everybody. It'll be better for us in the long run for our maintenance, and then a little bit easier for them to build as well. So other than that, very straightforward, meets our subdivision regulations. And so just want to talk that through with y'all. The next thing is something that we've kind of already done, but I'd like to propose that we do something else. If you recall, several years ago, we made Happy Hollow Bridge a no truck route, if y'all recall that. You know, and that was our great idea, that we were gonna do that, and then St. Florine would be able to write tickets on the bridge, and then we would be able to stop that truck traffic. Well, come to find out, St. Florine's police jurisdiction doesn't quite go to that bridge, and so they can't legally write that ticket. So, to try and combat that, I talked with Mayor Connolly. I would like to propose that we make County Road 47 from, I'm gonna say from 61 all the way to 94, okay? So that would basically that would put Big Star right on the edge, but that would allow trucks to still get to Big Star there in St. Florine. And then there's a gas station, if you recall, on the other side of the bridge. Those guys have got to get fuel. So we want to make it practical. So if we go to 94, which is right there at that gas station, if we make that whole strip there, no truck route, then St. Florine could ride. So if a truck crossed the bridge and was coming in to St. Florine, they could ride a ticket. Like, we could use our context clues and have a pretty good idea that that person drove over the bridge. So, and I'm sure if they had something that showed that they delivered something to Falcon Head or something, you know, there's some reason why they might have been down there, I'm sure St. Florine would have we'd use some common sense on it. So we're not trying to pick on truckers, we're just trying to keep people off this bridge. And so, we tried this years ago, and I think we need to expand it to make it work. St. Florine's excited to do it, they'd be glad to. But like I said, legally, they couldn't do it the way it's written. So, it's just something for y'all to think about. And if y'all want to do that, I would think we put it on the next agenda. Next thing I have, Waterloo Bridge. Just so you know, we updated that proposal through Congressman Adderholt's office last week. There was some conversation on that. We went back and forth. We had any of those federal grants, they always call and they want to answer these crazy questions, and you just never know exactly what they're asking. And so we went through all that back and forth last week. When it all came down to the project, though, they kind of wanted to know how much money we wanted to pay. Like how much, like, they're like, well, what if, we're saying right now we estimate it's a $9.2 million project. And when it's all said and done, if Congressman Adderholt got us the money, basically they would get us 80% and we would get 20%. That's what we're hoping for. But if the project estimate goes over, we would be on the hook for that, which makes me very nervous. And so basically the question they wanted to know last week was, how much do you think the county really wants to pay? And so I just kind of rounded up a little bit, and I said, I think $2 million is about all in for us. And so that would be, I mean, that's rounded up on 20% of 9.2, but that gives us a little bit of flexibility. But I just kind of want y'all to know where I'm at on that. I know that's what we'd originally talked about. We're really hoping, I got to learn some of the ins and outs of how that goes on in Washington, and I'm really hoping that we'll get the full funding this time. Last year, it didn't go through, but they were looking at about half of it. And so, which I kind of laughed and said, you know, y'all called and asked us about a project and ended up costing us $6 million. That don't seem like a very good deal, but we're hoping to get that. That's the congressman really likes it. Adderholt's staff's amazing. Those guys are great to work with. I think they want it. It's very high on his priority list, so I do think there's a possibility to get it. Next thing, just to mention, we used to get these all the time, and I've kind of had to put my foot down a little bit because these things end up being ridiculous, but TAP grants, which is a transportation alternatives program through ALDOT, it's kind of an easy program to get money, and all they really like to do is build sidewalks. And so, if you recall the Rogersville project, where they got awarded the project and then they realized it was on a county road. The Killen project was awarded, and then they called and said, oh, whoops, we did this application on a county road. And then when the Lexington project, they got wind that I wasn't very happy that we were having to go back, and so I'd already missed all the review, and like we were just kind of stuck with what we were stuck with, and we had to make it work. So the Lexington project, which basically would be a sidewalk from City Hall to the school along County Road 71. They tried to submit it, and I stopped it, and told them we had to see it, and we were going to be the one to maintain it. And so I've given them a thumbs up on that to apply for it, but I just want to mention that to y'all. Their application says that they will be maintaining the sidewalk and all the street signs and the pedestrian crosswalks. And other than that, it shouldn't affect our stuff at all. There's actually a grass strip between the road and the sidewalk. So I just want you to know, we really try to look at those closely. So if you ever have a town, a small town especially, looking to do those, I'd love to look at it, because those things, there's not a lot of money in those things for these designers, and so they draw a line alongside the roadway and say sidewalk, and it's just not that easy. And so it ends up being a nightmare for us. So that one, they're gonna submit for it. So, only other thing I've got, the bridge investment program we've been working on, we are officially set up in Grant Solutions with that, which is a big step in the federal process. And so I'm not expecting anything that needs to go through the commission anytime soon, but just know you're probably going to see a lot of correspondence, especially you, Danny. I know I don't know if you got some of those emails last week where you have to, they'll send you emails and ask you to reply and sign stuff. Danny and I went back and forth scanning and emailing. Thank you for doing that. But just know that ball is rolling. It's a tedious process, and the feds seem to, you never know what's going on, and then they get in a hurry, and then you don't hear from them for 6 months. But that's kind of where we are on that. And that's all I'm going to share.
Yeah, scan an email or video back, or and Brooks set it up before we write electronically sign.
Nice. Nice.
That saves me some trips down here. Out of the wild blue yonder.
Yeah.
They seem to come up, don't they, Brooke?
Well, I will brag on our county administrator a little bit. She has done a really good job of letting us, all departments, do some stuff electronically that we hadn't ever did before this office.
Yeah, that's great. Just kidding. Get back to the no truck. You wouldn't necessarily have to put it at 61, couldn't you put it up there where it was near the top of the hill, or just past Big Star?
You could. The reason we were thinking 61 is so that if we do it past 61, if a truck gets to go into there and they see it, where are they gonna turn around?
Oh, okay.
So we're trying to catch them
Before
they get there.
And of course, they'll surely be lenient with Big Star.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
Bob's.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm good with whatever. But that was our thought process on that. It's just
Yeah, I see that.
just trying to catch them before they, and we were kind of thinking they might could even turn around there at 61 and kind of even if they had to cut through that parking lot.
Yeah,
They can go around, Star there and make it.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
But I mean, I'm good with whatever. So the intent is just to get, far enough this side of the bridge that if they get to town, they can ride it.
Is everyone good with doing that? No trouble? Okay. Good deal. Anything else for you? Thank you for getting that tree out,
Sure.
practically in the road.
Yeah.
Just as I start to go off my hill, the tree decided to do that. When something's coming, well, it just, if my car was dirty, it would have brushed the top. But luckily, I was always able to get in the other lane and get.
Well,
So thank you.
We cut trees all weekend. I don't know what it was about this weekend. Yeah.
When they decide to go down, they go down.
Yeah.
And that one went south.
Yeah.
Storm traffic there.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom?
I don't really have anything, just give y'all a quick update on the parks. We're still working to get Brush Creek, all of it cleaned up. We got a lot, but we had a pretty good crowd this weekend. Everything went fine. Wheeler, we installed the key locks on the bathrooms. And we turned away a carload last night. And I don't think they were real happy when they left out of there, because one of the campers said they were cussing and fussing as they drove by. So, but everything seems to be working all right. One of the guys from the school board was staying up there, and he volunteered to install them for us. He does it all the time, so it worked out fine for
Well, it
us.
sounds like it was implanted in their mind, there's no need going back in.
Yeah. So, like I said, it worked out fine, and the weekend was the one I was worried about the most. So,
Yeah.
but now if we just me and Joe can get over there and clean up the rest of whatever that road is off of 581 out through there, where it looks like a bomb blow everything up. So, but that's all I had. So.
Anything else, Tom? Okay. We'll go, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna be Eric Hill tonight. I apologize in advance. All right, so we did have 2 additional tornadoes confirmed last week. The one in Rogersville along the lake, and then just a short time ago, National Weather Service did confirm the one in Waterloo, so that makes 8 total for the year. On tonight's agenda, there's a number of resolutions related to grants for EMA. The first one is item number 3. It's a resolution for the ALEA grant. That grant used to be called the LEL grant, and it was required that the county apply for that on behalf of first responders throughout the county. That changed 2 years ago to where any first response organization can file for that grant independently in addition to emergency management. And so we would like to apply for that grant specifically for an ATV for the purposes of moving casualties. Right now, we took some money that was left over from an old grant and put it into the ATV that was purchased back in the early 2000s. And so it now has a fire pump on it and then has the ability to carry a patient. But if we're looking at multiple patients or something specifically to carry a paramedic and a patient on, then that's what we want to use that grant for. The second is an RC&D grant. It's resolution number 6 on the agenda, and we are seeking funding for spotlights for all of our EMA vehicles. Obviously, with this uptick in tornadoes and power outages, it gets kind of hard to see, and so that would give us a periscopes style spotlight on each of the vehicles so that we can better assist in the response effort to those. The third is item number 7. It's a resolution to approve an application for the TVA Community Development Grant. We had met with the Volunteer Fire Association several months ago and had identified that one of the capabilities we don't have in Lauderdale County is to address an electric vehicle fire. So with electric vehicles, they have lithium batteries. You put water on them, they go boom. And so no fire agency in Lauderdale County has the capacity to, or the equipment to be able to put a vehicle out. So this is for fire blankets for each of the volunteer fire departments, the City of Florence Fire Department, as well as our office. Insurance requirements have changed since the dawn of electric vehicles, and so if one of these is used, then we would claim it against that party's insurance company to replenish it. But this would allow us to give those blankets to each of the departments and still have a couple in the event that we do have to use them or when we have to use them. And basically, it's one of those real easy deals. You open the blanket up, you pull it over the top of the vehicle and walk away, and it will start cooling that vehicle down. The second problem that we have is even if you put an electric vehicle fire out, it's still going to be extremely hot. You put it on the back of a wrecker and the wrecker starts going down the road, and now the vehicle reignites. So this blanket would stay with the vehicle to protect the wrecker driver and everything else. So those are the 3 grants that we have tonight. Before I get to the sheriff, one other thing that Slade didn't mention is they did make a change internally last week within EMS. If you'll recall, under our contract, it calls for a split ambulance between us and the hospital. Basically, we're paying for a 12-hour ambulance. Because of the decrease in number of interfacility transfers, non-emergent from the hospital to other facilities, and the uptick in emergent transfers from the hospital to other facilities and other factors. Slade is going to take that ambulance and it's going to be put into the 911 rotation. He's still going to manage the interfacility transports that are non-emergent, but what it does is it gives us a net increase of about 20 hours a day of having that additional ambulance that's available for emergency calls. So I think that's a step in the right direction. With what he's doing with mental health is a step in the right direction. If we can get the nurse navigation program off the ground, that's another step in the right direction. And so all of these little pieces, I think, go towards making that bigger puzzle that is emergency medicine within Lauderdale County. Next, in case you hear about anything from your constituents, Mr. Hill, within our building code, if there are more than 3 residents on a unnamed road, we are required to name said road, correct?
Sounds right.
So we've got, all right, so basically what that means is what we're seeing a lot of large parcel properties that families are going in, and I'm going to give my grandkid this acre, and I'm going to give my other grandkid this acre, and before you know it, you've got 4 or 5 different houses on that same road. It becomes complicated because even though that's a private road, Tom's trying to get garbage cans to each of those addresses. They're trying to get power to each of those addresses. I got to figure out how to get emergency responders there and whatnot. So that's happening a lot. And you can see that evidenced by the 500-600 additional cans that Tom's put out this year. I bring that up to say this. Our office ends up being the bad guy when we end up having to give a private road a name. So if you hear of any of your constituents concerned about that, they're always welcome to call our office. We follow what the county commission has put into place as far as building regulations, and it's a safety thing. I think I've talked to the commission before. We had a particular location off of Old Highway 20 that had 13 houses on this little dirt driveway that went way off and back, and they all had Highway 20 addresses. And if I'm driving down Old Highway 20 and I'm looking for this address and I'm in a police car, and I'm trying to get to this domestic that's happening, I'm going to see that there's this huge jump in numbers, but I'm going to have no idea that on this little dirt road next to this house, this is another road, and there's 13 houses past it. So the policy or the practice has been once we identify that they've hit that 3, once they go past that, then we're going to offer them a name for the road. We're going to give them an opportunity to tell us if they like or dislike said name. If we don't hear back from them, then we're changing it in the MSAG. 911 buys the sign, Eric's people put it up. So that's kind of how that process works.
I got a question.
You got an answer.
Who replaces that sign when it ends up on Commissioner Black's wall?
911. Yeah, it's on us. It's on us. If it's a private road, it's on us. And I just think, I just think that's the fair thing to do. If I'm going to force you to put up a sign, I'm going to provide the sign that I'm forcing you to put up.
Please, and you're going to go with names, right? You're going to go with road names.
No, I'm going to get to avenues and 1st and 2nd Avenue.
But not County Road 797.
I can do that too if you
I
want.
would prefer you didn't.
You sure?
Yes.
But it's a private road.
We
Can I
have-
make it a county road
Well-
and then make them think that you're going to?
They have plenty of those, and when my guys go out and patch the potholes on County Road side 797, because it's, you know, they.
No, there will be no county road names. County road names are,
No commissioner likes that.
yes, are under the exclusive control of Mr. Hill.
Let me mention something real quick,
Hmm?
just as a sidebar of this.
Yeah.
Tom didn't ask me to do this, I'm doing it on my own court, but we're running garbage trucks down a lot of those roads, and I don't think we should. Just my 2 cents, because I think there's a lot of liability in that, and I think we should get them to sign something personally. I don't know. Tom,
Yeah, that's totally a sidebar that's outside of emergency management's purview, sir.
Just telling you.
Moving on. All right, on the jail. So here's the long and the short of it. We've gone back and we've researched the current generator that is at the jail. It was put in 1994 as part of that jail construction, okay? So it's a 30-plus-year-old diesel generator. We also went back and pulled the jail's average daily electric usage to kind of see what the trend is. Now, there's 2 things that are important here. One, if you look back over the last 10 years, the amount of electricity that the jail uses is decreasing, right? Because they've gotten more efficient, but it's steady and constant across the board. And what they're using right now is about, on average, about 140 kilowatts per day. So we can kind of divide that out and kind of see what their peaks are. But there's not any time that they've gone over 147 kilovolt or kilowatts at a particular time. So diesel generator that's over there, 30 plus years old, is putting out about 138, 137, we'll just say 135 kilowatts on average, which is below what Joe needs to be able to properly function that jail. So what we are proposing is I reached out to Thompson over in Decatur about what they would do to replace it and kind of what it would look like, and then kind of went back and used my degree a little bit and started running some numbers. What we're proposing is that the commission approve tonight a resolution allowing for the purchase, installation of an additional generator there. I'd like to leave his diesel on site, but transition that to a CAT DG150, which is a gas generator. There's a 5.5 inch gas main line that comes in that has more than enough pressure to be able to service that as well, and it's right there by where the current generator is. And then reconfigure the automatic transfer switch on the old generator, put in a new automatic transfer switch, and basically the gas generator would be attached to the mains coming into the jail, so it'd be 100% working there, and then take the circuits that were placed off of the old generator and reconfigure to ensure that his control room, his doors, and his commodes in particular are all wired to the old generator, so that if the main generator that does the entire jail were to fail, then he would have the additional backup of the diesel to move forward. I think that way we kind of cover both sides of the spectrum. I'll tell you this, from the last couple of weeks, the biggest problem I've had is the generator that's at Magnolia Gardens was struck by lightning twice, and so that's where the hub of communication is for all first responders. And so what I'm looking at is kind of the same way that we've done other projects in the past, where he's got some redundancy because it is such a critical piece of infrastructure. So the cost for the generator itself is $60,025. What I would ask or propose is that the commission allow us by resolution to purchase and install at a cost of not to exceed $160,000, and point being is so that leaves us enough within the budget to be able to make the modifications to the transfer switch on the old generator and install the new one, because those are going to have to work together. Plus that'll cover any costs that are associated with the installation of the gas line hookup and that type of thing. Does that make sense? The generator itself is on state bid, so we don't run into any issues there. And once we get the estimates on the electrical and whatnot, then we would put that in. But that would, I think, give us enough room to be able to accomplish what we had talked about.
Have we got that budget?
Sir?
Have we got monies budgeted for that?
Currently, no, sir. This would be a budget amendment.
And as far as grants, any grants out there?
I mean, I think, so when George was trying to do this, he was trying to do it with that hazmat grant. And when he applied for it, he applied for 19 storm shelters and 6 generators at the tune of like $16.5 million. And rather than getting some of it, just got none of it. Well, now that things are happening the way they are in Washington, those grants don't exist anymore. Could they come around sometime in the future? I don't know, but I definitely don't want to live in a community where people are walking out of the jail because the doors don't lock. And you know, I think we've talked about it. There's really 3 pieces of critical infrastructure that have got to be addressed over time. The jail has to be the primary. Courthouse becomes second in this building. You know, we had portable generators up here last week because there was some electrical being done, and this building doesn't have a generator on it, and we couldn't afford, you know, during the workday to let the servers go down again. But if power goes out downtown, then none of the elevators work in either of these 2 buildings. Joe's folks can't get from the 2nd floor And in that case, when we had that couple of hour outage, we had court going on in 3 of the courtrooms, plus while they were doing rescues out of the elevator.
Wait for the bid for
Anything else? So, this will be for Joe and Slade, I guess. I understand that like a road goes off 1/4 mile out there yonder. What about a road, I'm really thinking like 72 at Thornton. The side road is Highway 62 address. Is that a problem for y'all? Roads that go
Access
with the
roads.
highway?
No, as long as there's not anything in between that side road or access road and 72,
Yeah.
then
Those are
it's fine.
okay, it's just that, gotcha, understand. Okay.
We ran into the same thing, like we're not Tractor Supply, where, oh shoot, where Faith Church is, out on 72. Tri-Green. Because with the exception, Tri-Green, I think originally did not have, it had the side road address on it. But one of the things that State 911 has come in and done is they've given us to the end of the year to reconsolidate and to get our addresses in order. Generally speaking, in the county, we're in pretty good shape. There's about 42,000 addresses in the city of Florence that something's got to be done with. Now, what that something is probably looks different for folks, but what's happened over time is this population density has grown. You come in and we give you 100 because you're the first house that's on the street. And then Chris comes in, we give him 102 because he's next on the street. And then Commissioner Hackworth buys the lot between you two, and what do we give him? Because we don't have another even number, so we can't put an odd number in between 2 even numbers. And so,
Give you a half.
well, and that's literally what has happened. You have A's, you have A, B, C's, and D's, and then you have halves, and then you have alleys, and you've just got all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There's a road in Florence called Connor Alley. It's an alley between 2 roads, and they didn't know what to do with it. Let somebody build their house facing the alleyway, and didn't have enough numbers on Connor Street, so they had to make it Connor Alley, so that they could get an address. And a garbage truck does not go down that road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Chris?
Been working, excuse me, those days of red on issues with Brooke, and made some advances on issues involving coroners and medical expenses and contract reviews and analysis, and made progress on all of that. Meeting with the judges tomorrow, which I do every week anyway, to discuss whether Judge Graves has modified or come up with any sort of changes to his stated policy that he sent to Brooke that's about where the crowd can and cannot go on the courts. He is the senior circuit judge along with the court clerk. They control the state courts, but it's our building. So he wants to do whatever we do, he wants to do it in continuity with us. Our county offices are already protected and safe. They're behind protective glass. I think some of them have the panic button, etc. So it's really not going to affect us. It's just us validating what he wants to do. And he needs to do it, and a part of this has been brought up by the construction on the 3rd floor. It's chaos. People just walking into judges' chambers, which is not allowed anywhere in this country. You can't even do that at city court, and they're doing it in the senior circuit judge's office. If you did that in federal court, one federal marshal would get this arm, the other one would get this arm, out you go. But it's just the nature of the beast. And so I understand what he's doing and why, but I want to make sure when you pass your the validating resolution, that he's got his policy honed down to a final work. And of course, he's coordinating, or we'd be talking to sheriff, because it affects sheriff too, because he's in charge of security. So I should find out tomorrow where Judge Graves is on that, and then it'll go on the next meeting. Of course, meeting with Conley on issues I'm working with Brooke on, but also because of the one-place roof issue, I'm gonna talk to Mr. Musgrove tomorrow, the city and the county own it, just to advance that conversation. I'm gonna come meet with Brooke with the Farmers Market Board to help there as they discuss the budget and make sure they understand what their parameters are. And then I want to ask your permission to allow your litigation attorney to come speak with you in executive session to give you an update on the liquor tax issue and possible prospective litigation in the future, which are two grounds that are in black letter law allowed for executive session. And so I'll either have him here the first or second meeting to coordinate schedules with his trial schedule, get him here. He's willing to come over and needs to give you all the update. And so that's pretty much where I am on those issues. That's all I have.
Anybody else? How is nurse navigation at Senior University? Are y'all working on anything? Have to work with
With
them?
the nurse navigator, talking about with, vis-a-vis the ambulance?
Yeah,
No.
the nurse gal.
Not nurse navigation, we do need to come to some resolution to the legality of creating a authority for emergency medical services so that we know the direction. I think that's what we had proposed to council from both the city and the county, and I have not, I don't know if y'all even have.
When we haven't reconvened any sort of meeting of that
Okay.
hybrid ad hoc, I'll bring that up to Mr. Musgrove tomorrow. We've
Yeah.
discussed one or two other issues involving the city and county since then, but I'll ask him where he is on that issue and, healthcare authorities or whatever they are.
Yes, sir.
And whether or not you can operate ambulance under that has always been the question.
Yes, sir.
So when we get to a point where both lawyers have their opinion of it, then we can have the ad hoc committee get back together. If you'd like to push that
Yes, sir.
forward, then I'll talk to Mr. Musgrove.
Sounds great. And then, Mr. Chairman, you're waiting on me for a letter requesting the commission and the city to consider the funding for nurse navigation.
I'll add that to my list and meet with him tomorrow. I'll talk to him tomorrow and meet with him later in the week.
Great. All right, this is the department heads, go.
Ready? Budget season's coming up. I got a letter prepared for all of the department heads. It just kind of goes over what the code section says that we have to do, the deadlines. I'm gonna try to send that out on June the 1st and ask for their replies back by the July 15th. And then I know the process in the past has been that the administrative department heads kind of discuss it a little bit, and then they get the final product and bring it to the commission. That's the way I understand it. We would kind of like to do something a little bit different. I want to send everything out in Excel format, let them be able to handle it electronically, kind of go back and forth to have a paper trail on email, and then come in, sit down, and if any of the commission would like to be involved or go through anybody's particular budget, and make that open to where y'all can. And then at the end game, I'd like to try to set something up to where, like Mr. Black had suggested before, use the TV or some kind of device so that you can see everything and it's blown up instead of going through different sheets of paper. But that's coming up, but still provide the handouts. The other thing about is DHR has an appointment vacancy. They're hoping to get some more applications in. Alicia prepared a list for y'all for all of the vacancies on the different floors to where we know what's coming up, what needs to be pointed out. Abby is at the air conditioning at the courthouse. We're getting ready for some different areas to go through, and I think Chris was going to kind of go into that a little bit.
All right, if you recall, you asked me verbally off the top of my head if I thought for phase 2, which is very expensive. Everything you do over there is expensive because it's a 1964 building. I was telling Brooke, and I had fun with Ricky about it. The other day going to court, I saw all of the HVAC people, your contract people, Ricky, they're all in that big column, and they're all sitting there looking and chatting. And I said, if I had a video, I said, I'm glad I went to law school instead of HVAC, HC, because it's just, I can't imagine trying to redo this within the parameters of the kind of money that we have. But off the top of my head, it was state bid, it's on state bid, you can state bid, it turns out you cannot. It is over $250,000, and except for Eric's department, we'd have to rebid this. But that's not that big a deal, because it is now time to address that work. I say it's not because you got phase one that's been worked, phase two's got to work in Lincoln concert. So it's just a matter of drawing the specs up, getting it done, complying with the law. Now the more interesting issue is ARPA and the possibility of moving some money around. As you will recall, the federal government stated that you had to have the money designated or earmarked or the project, committed before December 31st, 2024. Well, when we did this, we didn't do a phase one, phase two, we just did an air conditioning, now help me, Brooke, if I get off base, air conditioning project, put $3 million there. We hope and believe and pray that will allow us to shift some stuff to through ARPA to try to help soften the blow, so to speak, so that whatever money that we can get out of ARPA to cover up to $3 million can be done. Now, as y'all know, and I've told y'all before, because of the whole Wells Fargo thing and the future home of 911, etc., some of this stuff we don't know until years down the road when the federal government goes this way, this way. We just got to comply with the law that we understand it to be in concert. We're talking on different issues, Adderholt's office here and Treasury over here and the lady in charge of the National Association of County Commissions. We do our due diligence and we do what we can and in our best effort to follow the law that we understand it to be. And we document. And then when the day comes that you need me to go argue with the federal government, I'm going to say, look what we did. Look what reasonable men and women did. What else could we have done? Which, I mean, with good faith effort. So what we're doing is a good faith effort to try to get as much of this effort in construction and refitting and money under ARPA and to give ourselves that opportunity. Is that a pretty good synopsis of what we're talking about?
That's a great synopsis.
Thank you.
Sir?
And I'm there to help along the way as far as documentation and everything else. That's that issue.
The next thing on the agenda tonight, I've got a possible resolution with the Department of Revenue for the sales of tobacco stamps. Right now, we sell those in our office. So when businesses need to purchase the tobacco stamps to put on the tobacco products, they either call up here or come up here and get the stamps, and we sell it. But most counties go through the Department of Revenue, it costs 2%, and they purchase the stamps, they collect the money, they sell it, and then they give the profit back to the county after they get their 2% cut. It streamlines it, it kind of keeps everything a little bit cleaner here, and everything should run smoother.
Is that what you did in Fayette?
Fayette County that way and Marion County that way.
And it ran well?
They can collect, or we can see if Avenue wants to collect. Usually the Department of Revenue collects the tobacco taxes a lot smoother. They bring in more money. If people don't submit, they don't purchase their taxes, then the states can come in, they're gonna audit, they're gonna go after them to make sure that they get their money and then we get your money.
They do that.
So they think Avenue's better.
For the tobacco stamps, I think the Department of Revenue
That'd
is.
be better.
And what they did say is if it's broken up, like right now, when we get it, a portion comes to us and a portion goes out to municipalities, we can give them what that breakdown's supposed to be, and they can do that at Montgomery before it even comes to us, so that they handle that, and then that way, we don't have an audit issue on your end if we don't divide the money up correctly. And they deposit ACH.
Bill is okay.
So we move in that direction?
Good man.
Yeah.
And all my other ones.
Okay, so we got to deal with some personnel things. David, you don't mind this part.
Okay.